Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to our telephone town halls. This is Congressman Doug Collins, 9th District Congressman. I hope everybody had some good time today in the 9th District weather. My understanding it was really good. I'm still stuck up here in cold D.C. and working hard, but I just wanted to take a few minutes. We got our first town hall of the new Congress. We're excited about that. Since the last time we talked, a lot of things have changed up here. Of course, a new administration's come in. We have exciting times both waiting in the not only in the Congress but also with the things that are going on down the street at 1600 Pennsylvania. There's a lot of new excitement here. A lot of things that we promised, we've talked about on these calls. This is, I think, our 25th-ish call that we have had in the time that I have been in D.C., and it's been a wonderful time to connect with our folks and friends in Northeast Georgia. While people are coming on the call, and we've got a lot of folks coming on, I want to just give you an update on a few things as we get started. One, we're taking on a new role up here in Congress. Not only is it a privilege to serve the 9th District of Georgia, but I'm also been elected to the Vice Chair of the House Republican Conference, which gives Northeast Georgia a role at the desk leadership table, and we're beginning to work and encourage our new members and encourage our other members as they have taken our role and looking at, as we move further, working not only with the leadership in the Congress, but also working with the new administration. And in talking with President Trump just recently, it is good to know that he is a fan of our state and has been very active in wanting to be a part of what we do. I love holding these events. These are the time that we get together, and if you've never been a part of this call, we're excited to have you tonight. This is a good time. There's a lot of questions I know that's going to come up tonight, and we're going to answer as many as we possibly can. And I'm back and forth in the district all the time. We're working a lot of 5-day weeks up here. We're working some other times, and in between times I'm working up here, I'm also trying to do our my drill time, and we're with Air Force, and so we're just excited about the opportunity. Just wanted to also talk about a few things that we are doing in the last couple of weeks as people are still getting on the line as we go forward. One of those is that we just finished sending out a letter to Secretary of State Rex Tillerson about the Russian adoption situation that has been held up by Russia. We're trying to get that. That came from, really brought to our attention by Mike and Pam Romano from Jefferson, and then the issues that families in our district were having and across the country, and we're looking forward to helping as those come along. Before I talk about a few other things, I just want to remind you, some of you have already started, but star 3 is how you can ask questions tonight. Star 3 will be your question and answer time. You can ask answer questions of me. Let me just tell you how that will work. You will not be directly connected to me first off. You will be answered by one of my staff. These are folks that work on my staff or my interns, so they're excited to talk to you. They will take what your question is, put you in the queue, and then I will get there as quickly as I possibly can to as many questions as we possibly can. And I think this is something we're going to continue to work on. We've been working hard on reducing regulatory burden, and that's one of the biggest issues that I've talked about over the past few years. And as we continue to do so, one of the first bills that we actually voted on this year was the REINS Act, which is my bill out of the gate, which limits the ability for major rules, those that impact over $100 million, to be implemented without Congress having a say-so on it. And then also we've been passing a great deal of CRAs, which are congressional review actions, which take away some of the midnight rules that were passed by the previous administration that were, basically job killers and that are really hindering the very business that we're actually trying to look into. So at this juncture, we're excited about where we're headed and what we're doing, and at that point, I think we can continue to work to maintain not only our business climate, our regulatory environment, working on the things that we promised, and that is getting rid of a broken healthcare system and replacing it with and putting into place the tools that allow us to have a healthcare system that is centered around access for those who need healthcare and having it affordable and actually work instead of it being government-centered, being back to the patient, doctor, and being able to do the things that need to be done. The other issue that I'm excited about is before we get into questions here, and we got some that are waiting at this point, getting ready for their questions, is that we need to are excited about the fact that one of our own up here, Dr. Tom Price, is now the head of HHS and will be helping us in our fight to improve our healthcare system, and we're excited about that. So at this point in time, we're going to get a few more questions online. If you have it, it's star 3. Star 3 is the way that you would ask questions. Again, you'll go to my folks who are screening the calls and be a part of that. I do want to say one quick thing. Another thing that we do with these telephone town halls is a way that if you have questions about Veterans Affairs, if you have questions about your Social Security, Medicare, those kind of questions, we also will be able to help you with that. I want to give you our district number. The district number is the 770-297-3388. And we're going to continue to take those calls, so just call tomorrow. They'll be back in the office, and if you have questions for that, you can call them then. So with that, I think we're getting a good many folks on the call. We still got a long way to go. We're getting some more on, but why don't we do this? Let's just go ahead, and we're going to click into some phone of your calls and your questions tonight. So here's what we will go to first. And again, ask your question, and we'll get to as many of these as we possibly can as we go forward tonight. So let's go to George in Blairsville. George, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am.
Well, good afternoon, George. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful, Congressman. And you?
Good. I'm doing well. How's Blairsville tonight?
Wonderful. Great place to be. Great place to be.
Super. It is always one of my best places. I used to vacation at Vogel State Park almost every year. That was the best place we could go.
Well, you did well. Well, listen, I won't take up your time because there are other people probably in the queue. I spent 36 years of my life from 1964 until 2000 in education, and I know your wife can relate to that.
Yeah.
I have a continuing issue. I was everything from a bus driver to a principal and everything in between. And constantly, bureaucracy got between me and the kids. And bureaucracies feed on money. And here's my question. When President Obama came to office, he went from $50 billion for the Department of Education to $100 billion last year. Now, Betsy DeVos, I think, is going to try to roll some of that back. But my heart-to-heart issue is the kerfuffle that we had last year over the bathrooms. The Department of Education had the money to be able to enforce that rule. My point is, if we could go from the $100 billion budget to $50 billion and just cut that beast half in two, it would help a great deal what goes on in the classroom.
Well, George, I'm on board with you on that. I think the biggest issue, and I've had this part with the education with my wife teaching 5th grade. She's been teaching for 27 years, and I think one of the issues that we have coming forward is it, really I've talked to several school systems, and it's like 15% of their funds or less actually come from the federal government, yet 60 to 70% of their paperwork does. And that's just, getting in the way of actually teaching kids. And so I think if you're really interested in wanting to help kids, you're wanting to help improve our education system, then one of the things is it needs to be more state and local control. So my hope is the new Secretary of Ed will be a part of that. We're going to continue our oversight from Congress to make sure that we're actually getting the not only the support that is needed for our, especially our K-12 and others, but also having the regulatory burden removed so that they can actually get back to teaching kids. My wife will, and I'm sure you can as well, tell horror stories of what we have seen over time in this, and it's just something that we have got to be aware of. And then again, not every fix in the world needs to happen before they. It has to come from Washington, D.C. We've got to get this back in the hands of the locals and the states and the parents of the kids and being a part of that active as we go forward. So I'm looking forward to working with that. And George, I appreciate the call. You keep everything good in Blairsville, okay?
All right, sir. You take care.
All right, bye-bye. All right, great call to start us off with. Let's see where we want to go next on this. The next call, here we go. We got one that we've been dealing with for a while. And, Robin, you're over in Franklin Springs. You're with me live tonight. Robin, how are you? Robin?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm great. Got a question, looks like, about our Orphan County stuff.
Yes.
You there, Robin? Go ahead.
An update on Yes, I was just wanting an update on the Orphan County issue regarding the satellite channels for DirecTV.
Oh, cool. Well, we're working on that right now. Right now, we've got the counties involved, the 4 counties involved. They're each putting in their applications to be reviewed. I just got a quick update the other day about that. Some of the applications are in. We're trying to see which ones can be moved along. I'm hoping to have an answer with that in the next few months. We're going to keep that up to date. We are talking with our different counties. Of course, we had the language inserted into the act in 2014 that allowed the counties to be a part of this. And so when we look at that getting out of it, we're also helping, and my district staff is working to make sure that those applications are in. Hopefully we'll have something pretty soon. I know they're working on it right now. We've had some things have slowed down a little bit with the change in administration, but we're hoping to actually get those done in the next little bit as we go forward. So, Rhonda, we're still working on it. Thanks for staying with us on it. All right. The next caller, let's go to Rhonda Bailey in Clarksville, Georgia. Rhonda, how are you doing tonight?
My name was Rhonda.
Rhonda?
I'm great.
Hello. Is this Miss Bailey from Clarksville?
Yes, it is. How are you?
I'm great. How's Clarksville tonight?
Oh, we're doing great up here.
Well, super.
Really
well, I'm glad. Welcome to the call. It's always good to have people.
Well, thank you.
What's your question tonight?
I am a progressive.
Okay.
And I want to know what you intend to do about Trump's association with Russia. I mean, it is obvious he has one. And what you intend to do about him not releasing his tax returns. And then thirdly, the last one, is what is your vision for repealing Obamacare? Because I have a pre-existing condition. I'm retired, but not yet will I qualify for Medicare until 5 more years.
Yes.
No, 10 more years. 10 more years. So
you're a youngster.
I'll
there you
lose
go.
my insurance. Yeah, I'm young to be retired, but I am retired.
That is great. That is great. Well, Rhonda, the best part about it is, let me just go ahead and I'll take part of your last one. And as far as Obamacare, the Obamacare itself is something I've talked about on these calls and I've ran on for years. The whole plan is in a condition where it's not going to be sustainable. It's not able to work. But let me just say this: there's a lot of representations out there about what is going to be and not going to be in a Republican discussion about this. And let me just self-assure that for most out there, pre-existing conditions are going to be covered. Those are the things that we have talked about. Those are things that were being covered and could have been worked on without a government takeover of the healthcare system. So that's going to be a part of it. We're also not going to be re-implementing lifetime caps, and we're also going to be there's not going to be a removal of kids up to age 26. So if you're on the call tonight and that was part of what your discussion was, then I'm trying to assure you early on that that's not what we're going to be doing. In regard to the president's tax records, he's provided, in all fairness to the president, he has provided everything that's been required of him and to run for president. He is at this point there's no legal requirement for him to release his public tax returns. That is a decision that he will make. I think one of the issues here is his business activities have been vetted. If people don't think that, and from the reports that have been going on through the media for the last 6 to 8 months or even longer, those are all been vetted and being looked at. And believe me, if there's anything there, it's going to continue to come out. I think the biggest issue with the tax returns is, frankly, I'm more concerned about, working to make sure that you have your health care that you need. I'm more concerned about working, to lower tax burden on hardworking Americans. I'm more concerned about, the policies that are chasing our businesses out of the country. So those are the kind of things with that. Now, back to the Russia issue. There are investigations going on right now with different aspects of what has been going on in the administration. So the intel committees in both the House and the Senate are looking into these things. I trust those committees will continue to do their job. And as we go forward, I think that is, going to be done. If there's anything that's impropriety, this past week, the issues with Mike Flynn, General Flynn, lying to the vice president, he was fired. He needed to be. I think there is a great concern about these leaks and where these leaks came from. So as we look at that, I think those are the kind of things that we go from. So, Rhonda, that's sort of where we're at right now.
Can you answer one more thing?
I will quickly can.
Was it not illegal for Flynn to represent the United States of America before Trump took office.
Well, I think that is the version that has been out there with the media at this point. The man is no longer has a job, and I think that's what the investigation is going on in our intel committees are taking care of. I think there's this false perception out there that nothing's being looked into, and that can be further from the truth. And the intel committees are looking into it. So that's what we're looking at. Yeah, we're looking into it. Rhonda, you have a great. Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you. You have a great.
All righty. Great call from Rhonda up in here. Let's look at the next call. They got it. I'll just go ahead here. Lee in Gainesville. Lee, how are you tonight?
Hey, Congressman. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's good to talk to you tonight. Hope things are well down there in my hometown.
Oh, boy, it is beautiful.
That's what my wife said. I can't wait to get back home and been down there.
You're in the wrong part of the country. Yes, sir. So I'd like to know, one, I really appreciate and admire the fact that we can have a telephone town hall and take advantage of technology like this. But on the other hand, I'd also like to be able to have a physical gathering. And I'd just like to know if you'd consider having an in-person town hall within your district.
We're going to be doing town halls probably later this summer like we always do. The biggest thing, though, is we've had town halls. What's really interesting is we've had town halls for the last 5 years, and frankly, we get about 30, 40 folks in there. Now, I know there's a lot of folks right now who have decided to join the process and are a little bit upset, with some things, and they don't like the new administration, and that's wonderful. I'm glad that people are participating. But what I will say is we do those. We'll continue to do those probably as we always have more during the summertime break when we have a longer time period. But one of the reasons we do this telephone town halls is the fact that we have right now I'm in contact with well over 1,000 people or more on this contact. And it gives us a chance to talk about issues. It gives us a chance to be respectful and get as many of these contacts as we can in. So we're going to continue to do both these telephone town halls, which we've done about 25, 26, I think I started with a night over the last, 4 years. Plus, I'm always active, and people see me in the Kroger store and everywhere else all the time. So, we'll look forward to it. We do it when we do some town hall meetings. We'd love to have you come. And I think sometimes it's just a matter of resources. I represent 20 counties. We're trying to get to every one of them. Telephone town halls give us a wonderful way to do that. So, Lee, you have a great time, and I hope to see you soon. Okay.
All right. Yes, sir. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. All righty, let's see. We got some more calls coming in. I hope everybody's doing well. *3 is our number here for you. If you have a question, if you can do *3, and we're looking forward to coming out. Let's see what we got here next. I think we got another call here. This is John Harrison. John, you on the line with me?
I am, Congressman. How are you, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. What's going on in your world tonight, John?
Well, just speaking to you and thanking you, I want to tell you, I want to thank you for the compliment you paid on the H.R. 244 Wingman Act and using my name in the situation. That I appreciate, and I wanted to tell you that. The other thing I want to make a statement to you is that I support wholeheartedly President Trump's positions that he is putting out there. We all have to remember he's not a politician, so he may not be as smooth in his delivery, but I will say everything he's doing I totally support, and I want to thank you for that support that you give him. And the concern I have is naturally he needs more of that from the House, but especially in the Senate. And so I just hope things will begin to take shape the longer we go into his term, and the more things that he accomplishes, people will finally see what his heart and his direction is. And I just wanted to thank you for that, and thank you for the town hall at the library in Flowery Branch. The last caller was talking about town halls, and I was attendance there. And then I talked to you at the GOP meeting here in Gainesville. Yeah, exactly. And there's some things else that we could talk about, but I won't go any further. I just want to tell you thank you for the job you're doing.
Well, John, I appreciate that a bunch. And we were glad to be for you to be a part of that and what you have helped us with. For those who might be interested, the Wingman Act was one that actually will help. I believe that veterans shouldn't have to go through their congressional offices to get help. And as long as they do, though, my office is going to be a part of that. The Wingman will help my office do that. What that act did was actually grant read-only access to certified congressional staff to ensure that they can view the files. They already have the permission to process. So it's just going to cut down some time for our caseworkers. And, John, you know how that can be. And I just appreciate the support. Glad you called in tonight.
All right, buddy. Thank you, and have a good one.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right. As we continue on through our calls tonight, let's go to, I've always believed in, as we look around, we'll see what our calls are. Let me go to, this is an interesting call, Debbie in Livonia. Debbie,
yes,
how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. The gentleman that just spoke took a lot of my question or my comments about support for Trump. I'm heavily a supporter of him. I wish people would give him a chance. And I particularly expect that my representatives support him in every aspect that they can. I understand, there will be differences of opinion, but with the voters thinking and voting the way they did, that should be a message to everybody up there that, we liked what he had to say.
Yeah, well, Debbie, I appreciate you. I appreciate you calling. Is there any specific question you might have?
Well, I just wanted to know from an insider's view, from yourself, what is the climate and environment that's really going on behind the doors in Washington?
Well, what's really going on up here is a lot of work and a lot of obstruction that we're seeing, right now in the Senate. But that's part of the process. We're just, when you're attempting to do big things, people who may not want those big things or they enjoy the status quo, they're going to be fighting against that. But right now it's been really, as a good working relationship, and you're going to see more of that coming in the next few months.
Yeah, that's the part I was wanting to make sure that everybody is trying to work together. Thank you.
Oh yeah, doing our best. Take care, Debbie. Have a good night.
Yes, sir.
All right, we have more calls, great calls tonight, as we always have. Let me go here to, I think this looks like Nancy in Toccoa.
Yes, I'm
Hey,
here.
Nancy, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good.
How's my folks in Toccoa?
Doing good, thanks.
Good.
I wish I had heard the lady, I think her name was Rhonda, 2 or 3 questions ago. I was on the line with her screener, so I didn't get to hear all of her question. But mine is also about the Affordable Care Act and the repeal and replacement. I am currently on the ACA. I'm 59 years old, been working since I was 17, always carrying my employer-sponsored insurance. Unfortunately, about 4 years ago, my employer in Toccoa decided to drop group-sponsored insurance. So
they let their insurance, they decided not to do it anymore because of cost?
That's right, and he, it wasn't just cost. I happen to be the bookkeeper there, so I know we could have afforded it. It was just not a priority to him. And being under 50 employees, he did not have to go along with it. So I was forced to go under ACA. I do not get a subsidy simply because my husband, who is on Social Security, I have to report his income even though he is not covered. So I do not get a subsidy. And also, when you're considering repeal and replacement, for those of us that have to provide our own insurance and we don't get a break on our, at work anymore, like the pre-tax insurance when you're on, we don't get any kind of break because...
Well, get ready, Nancy. You might be really happy here in the next little bit. So that's going to be good.
You have to have 10% of your AGI to claim anything. And my insurance is nearly $1,000 a month, but it is, I cannot go without it, and this is where I'm getting to, the 2 points. And I think Rhonda mentioned them, and I'm sorry if I'm boring anyone repeating it. Pre-existing conditions, Paul Ryan stated at a town hall meeting, we would go into a high-risk pool. I am a 2-time cancer survivor. Thank you, Jesus. I can say survivor. I don't think fair to put us, those of us that have been unfortunate enough, not through anything we have done, but just for whatever reason we have a disease like cancer has befallen us. And it's not fair. This could happen to anyone tomorrow who might be healthy today. Cancer knows no discrimination. Anyone can get cancer.
Oh, I agree. I've been hit with it in my own family, Nancy.
I doubt anyone in America has not been stricken with it in some form or fashion, if not themselves, a loved one. All right, and then also dollar count limits. When you start getting cancer, heart disease, anything like that, these treatments are expensive. It is not fair, and I honestly don't know how anyone can sleep at night knowing that, well, you know, I'm going to give this person more, but this person had a pre-existing condition, so I'm not going to let them have as much. And, you know, woe be it to them if something happens to them. I'm sorry. You know, the irony of this is when ACA first started coming out, all I heard about was, oh, they're going to have death panels. They're going to have death panels. That is not true. And there was a thing on the news just yesterday where a politician somewhere in a town hall was trying to push that. And thank goodness the people at the town hall called him on it. But
yeah, well, Nancy, I think the biggest thing is and let me just interject here. One is the pre-existing conditions are covered. I think one of the issues you just brought up is the high cost of your insurance.
Everything I'm reading from your colleagues is they're going to be pushed over here in a separate category.
Well, I think what we've got to look at is you're not going to be discriminated on your pre-existing conditions. That's one of the things that we've looked at, and that was one of the things that could have been done without the ACA taking this over. The other issue is the ACA or Obamacare, however you want to call it, also did nothing to deal with the cost curve. And so what we're wanting to do is be able to get you and your family to be able to have insurance that, one, is more affordable, that is actually also bending the cost curve on these issues as we go forward. So I think the you know, I'm not ever answer for anybody else on their town halls or anything else. I'm just telling you where we're at right now, and that is a part of what we're looking for. And you know, and that's a concern that I have. I've had my family, you know, folks in my family who have cancers, including my father. So I mean, it's one of those things that I understand as well. But it's better to be able to get you insurance that is, one, affordable, that is also helping to bend the cost curve so it's more affordable for everyone else, but also not moving you know, folks away from a situation in which they can't get insurance. So we're going to continue to fight that fight. You're going to be looking at it, and some of the tax treatments that you mentioned already are good places to start. So we're going to be looking into that. So it's I think, you know, hold on. I think you're, you know, before you prejudge, let us see it and really coming out in the next month. So I think you're going to see some stuff that actually try to address, you know, the needs of all on the insurance. Okay.
Well, I appreciate that, but I mean, you know, once it comes out, I mean, you know, it's kind of too late. That's the purpose of having these meetings and expressing your opinions. Because I don't think it's fair that, you know, somebody that's worked all their life like me that lives in a little small town like Toccoa, I can't work at a Fortune 500 company, but I should be able to get insurance as much as someone working at Coca-Cola, ExxonMobil, or any other large corporation, and it should not cost me, you know, an arm and a leg.
Well, when we started attaching health insurance and taxes, that's when we started going on. Well, Nancy, I got to get to some more calls, so you have a great night. Take care.
All right, and leave our Social Security alone. Thank you.
See ya. Bye-bye. All right, let's continue on. As we go here, let's see. Charles in Dawsonville. Charles, you there?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Hey, Charles, how we doing?
Mate.
Charles, are you there? Okay, undoubtedly I couldn't make a connection to Charles there. Let's go and get this one here. I've answered this one, I think, on most every call that I've ever done, so I want to make sure we get it in on this one as we go forward. Jim, how are we doing in Dahlonega tonight?
Doing great, Doug. It's good to talk to you again. Met you when I was the Lumpkin County chairman for David Perdue's campaign.
Outstanding.
And enjoyed talking to you. I'm concerned about term limits and getting back to where we actually have what the Constitution of the United States wanted, and that's a representative government, not a professional politician government. And the other thing is when are you going to prepare to take over for Johnny Isakson? He's part of the problem and an embarrassment to the Republican Party, and it's time somebody with strength and conviction takes over and runs for senator against this guy. Sorry to hit you with both, but they're both sort of combined into term limits.
Well, we'll look at that. Johnny's starting his 6-year term, and I think, you know, we'll be working with Johnny as we go forward. But, you know, as we look at it, let me also just hit, and Jim, I'm on I'm gonna answer this one and head to the next call. But I appreciate you calling. Look forward to seeing you again soon. But I'm gonna hit your term limit question here. Okay, so you have a good night.
All right.
Term limit, this is a question I've answered ever since before I ran. One of the issues is representative government needs to be representative, and that is by the elected officials and not by bureaucrats and those in Washington, D.C. or in the capital in Atlanta to run what should be with the offices. Bumper sticker answer for term limits is it sounds great. It works. Everything's good because if you get rid of people, then they won't do. The problem is you're not getting rid of the staff. You're not getting rid of the professional staffs. You're not getting rid of the staffs that run the committees. You're not getting rid of the bureaucrats who live and just wait for different times to continue to do what they've been doing and controlling what should be elected officials' time. I've always held the condition that the greatest term limit control was actually in the Constitution. It was called elections. For those who are maybe interested, we have had over since 2010, we have had approximately I know in our conference we've had about 180 of a 240-member conference have been elected since 2010. In the Georgia legislature in the last decade, there was an 83% turnover in the Georgia legislature. I think what we need to do is have town halls like this where we come and answer questions, we put ourselves out there for the vote, and we continue to do a good job. And Jim, I appreciate it. There's a lot of folks who believe that term limits are an answer. I just not happen to be one of them. And I think that I'm on my term limit every 2 years. That's why I try to earn folks' vote as we go forward in this tonight. So let's continue in tonight. And let's see here. Let's take Jim in Clarksville. Jim, how we doing?
We're doing okay. Congressman, I am a disabled veteran, and I wonder if things are beginning to be taken into consideration about the veterans' problems.
Yeah, the veteran. I think the new director Shulkin is going to. We're hopeful that he will come in and begin the process of what we've done on Capitol Hill of lowering the wait times, improving the conditions at our VA centers. We're going to hold him accountable to that, and if he's not, then he needs to go. I've taken a short leash with folks who head up the VA department because my folks actually. That is one of the biggest calls we get is in the area of veteran assistance. So we're gonna. It looks promising so far, Jim. But I'll keep you informed as we go forward. Okay.
Okay. Well, it's people that don't have to really deal with it. Which you're aware of this choice program.
Oh yeah, I was one of the ones that put it in, and they botched it for most everybody. So we're going to continue to get it back right. Okay, Jim?
Well, the thing about that is, too, they have a call center, and if you call with a problem, the next day you get to talk to somebody else and on and on and on. And, there should be something done to eliminate that and also get the health net people. I understand they're not of the government. They're a private organization that the government implemented to help, but they need to get it. Thank you very much for taking my call.
No worries, Jim. You have a great night. Thanks a bunch.
All right.
All right. Let's go to we got Chris in Elberton. Chris, how are we doing tonight?
Congressman Collins, good evening.
How are you, sir?
I'm fine. You and I have met on several occasions. I'm the director of the Granite Association.
Yes.
Yes.
Hope you're doing well.
Yes, we're doing very well. Business is good, and our industry is really picking up here, coming out of this cycle of a couple bad years. But my question is that, there's a lot of regulation that has been pushed in the previous administration. A lot of it is very detrimental towards business and industry here in our state and around the country. And, we appreciate the attention that you have given to helping to fight some of these regulations in the interest of business and industry surviving and prospering. One of the big fights that we're seeing that's about to take effect and is the crystalline silica issue, which affects not just the granite industry, but also many of the other industries throughout Georgia and throughout the country, including construction and road construction and anything that deals in an aggregate and rock, that crystalline silica exposure limit being lowered is going to be a huge detriment to a lot of businesses. And I'm just wondering what you're hearing up in Washington about possibly repealing or pushing this back.
Well, hopefully, with the new administration, especially, getting where our hope is under, not only from the OSHA perspective, labor and EPA as well. This is something we're going to be, defunding, making sure that it doesn't go forward. And I think the president has made it clear that rules like this, which really are not able to even be measured properly, will be some of the stuff that's going away. I mention the silica issue almost every time I talk about regulations that are killing industry, and I've raised it, knowing what is happening in not only the granite industry but other things that we have had going on. So we're going to continue to do that. That's why the RAINS Act, that's why I fought the RAINS Act, because of the large cost in that. If we can get that passed, then that stuff will come to the Congress to fix. And we're going to continue to do that. We've also asked it to be defunded in the appropriations process, and so we're going to continue to do that as we go forward. So, Chris, keep it up. We're going to keep fighting for you and keep fighting with you, okay?
Well, Congressman, I appreciate it. You seem to be the only one that is fighting for us, and we just appreciate your service to Georgia and to the country.
Okay, well, super. Well, that is great. All right, well, you take care. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you, sir.
All right. All right, next we go to Gabe Shipley in Oakwood. How are we doing tonight?
Doing great, Congressman. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Just answering as many questions as we possibly can. Having a good time. Hope you're doing well. How's things been in your world?
Going great, actually. I wanted to ask a question about what Congress and you yourself in particular plan to do about converting our energy economy from fossil fuels to renewable. I'm pretty young myself, so climate change to me is the number one issue that I'm concerned about. I think if we don't get that right, nothing else really matters. And I want to hear what your ideas are about how we shift our economy from fossil fuels to renewables.
Well, I think the one of the things that we need to do is continue to do is make sure that, one, that we're not looking at a position in which the government is picking winners and losers in a market in which that makes no discernible change toward an environmental work. And I think that's what we have seen in the last few years. I think there also has to be a balance between not only our environmental regulations, but also the fact of what we've done over as a country has done over the process of from our perspective, and also with frankly, our jobs and our economy. I think what we're looking, forward as we go forward in this one is a balance between, making sure that we have environmental laws that are enforced, that are proper, but also at the same time balancing those with the actual cause and effect. And I go back to one that the caller that I just had. The silica rule is sort of a classic example. It's couched under environmental protection and other things, but these are rules that frankly they're too low to actually make a difference and a change. So what we're going to continue to do is encourage that. The marketplace is beginning to move there. I have a hybrid myself. There's others that as the market begins to grow, we're seeing that progressive change to understanding that there is a balance between taking care of our environment and making sure that we are doing the proper things we need to do in the industry. So I think you're going to continue to see that. There's no place I would rather live than Northeast Georgia, and it's one of the prettiest and safest places because of there is a concern about the environment and the things that we have going on.
Thank you, Congressman. I appreciate you taking my question.
No problem. It's always good to talk to you. Hope you're well. Look forward to seeing you back in town when I'm there, okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Next question on this one will be, as we run along, we got a lot of great questions tonight. Let's go to the question. This is Kristen out of Gainesville. Kristen, how are we doing tonight?
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Is everything still beautiful in Gainesville?
It's a little cold and windy, but it's okay.
Well, let's get it back warmer before I come home. How about that?
Okay. I wanted to talk to you. I completely respect your belief and your belief in being pro-life. But I do want to talk to you about your co-sponsorship of the Life Begins at Fertilization. I think it has unintended consequences for those of us that need IVF. I've spoken to your staff. Cooper is wonderful. He deserves a raise, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I'll take thanks, Cooper. We'll see about a raise for you.
And then my husband has written, my mother has called. If you say that life begins at fertilization, what happens to those of us who need IVF? Because the reality is when my doctor goes in and gets a bunch of eggs, stimulated eggs from my ovaries, and they take them and they fertilize them in a lab, the reality is most of those do not make it to a day 5 transfer, which is scientifically how the process moves along. They get fertilized, and then, you wait and you monitor and you see. And those at day 5 are scientifically called a blastocyst. Most don't make them there. If you say life begins at fertilization, what happens to those that don't survive?
Well, I think
my embryologist punished? Am I punished for that?
Well, I think that's...
Do I have to implant all of those embryos? And then that's a risk for my health and the health of a baby because you can't do anything. What happens at the freeze? There's too many questions.
Well, and I think that's a great question. I appreciate you calling, and IVF is a definite, work in this. And I think one of the things we have to understand is many of your questions can be answered by the simple fact of what the act was. It's a declaration and not a regulation. I think that's one of the first things you have to have. This bill empowers states to enact legislation that protects it from community, but doesn't force any state to take any specific action or ban any medical procedure used to increase the chance of pregnancy. I don't think that any rational legislature would outright outlaw medical procedures used to increase the viability of pregnancy, including, the IVF. So the Sanctity of Life, me co-sponsoring, is intended as a clear voice, and I think from your perspective of life as well. And it's just a clear standard of the life that begins. This legislation is an affirmation of life and not a regulation and by any means of its own discussion to prevent IVF. So I think many of your questions are, frankly, with this is already irrelevant.
Then what is the what?
It's just what I just said. It's not a regulation. It's a declaration. It's just a declaration stating this is where, we believe in life, and this is where we believe that life starts. There's a lot of other, it's a pro-life statement in that regard. But it's like I said, to get away from, you got many questions, and those are, very valid, good questions. But again, this act does not affect those questions.
So what happens in a regulation in Georgia? Let's say that is enacted.
Well, that would be where you'd have to talk to the Georgia legislature, not this bill.
But you're just putting people at risk that don't need to be. And if it's really pro-life, I want that life, and yet.
Oh, I agree.
It's just you're putting that at risk by saying that, and there are unintended consequences.
Well, I understand, but I think that's we're not, from our perception and reading that, we're not putting anyone at risk. That's why, again, we can have a disagreement. That's why I appreciate you calling in and raising those concerns. I think just from the text reading of the rule, though, I think that it sort of makes the question that you ask are not applicable in that regard. But I respect your opinion. I appreciate you calling in and letting me hear your concerns, and also your family members as well. And we'll see what we can do about Cooper. How about that?
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, let's moving right along here. The next thing that we need to look at is this one right here. We've had a lot of concern and questions about this. I might as well. We've got several questions about it. Hopefully, Eve, you can help us get this question answered for several of them that are on the line. So, Eve, go ahead with your question.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to tell you that I feel like you're doing an awesome job. And as far as President Trump, I do fully respect him, and nobody seems to understand that because he's not a politician, it's bad for the country. It could be very good for the country because he is an avid businessman. And if we could turn the business around in the United States and bring it back up to the level it should be, that would help us, not hurt us.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's why we're continuing to work with the president and do those things that we need to do. So,
and I totally agree with that. And then one of my other questions, has there been anything done concerning the Internet, the lack of Internet here in White County?
Well, that's a great question, and I'm gonna answer that question, and you have a good night up in White County for me. I'll answer it. You just hang on. I'm going to answer that question for you, okay?
Okay.
All right. The question, Windstream is, we're still continuing to hold Windstream accountable. They take federal money, so we're holding them accountable in their areas. But also, if you're on the call tonight and you have issues with Windstream, please call my district office, 770-297-3388. Let us know what's going on with Windstream in your area, and we would love to be able to help out. I know they are attempting to do some things. They're using some technology that's been around for a little while, but they're actually using it now, which hopefully for the existing customer base will be good. We're going to continue to hold them accountable to make sure that folks can get the internet service. So if you have any concerns or questions, please call 770-297-3388, and we'd be happy to talk to you as you go forward. So let's go to our next question. This one is coming, I think, from Ella J. Stephen and Ella J.
Congressman Collins, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good, Stephen. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I just wanted to get a quick update. I had discussed with you and your staff previously about the, I believe it's a bill that you co-sponsored that would roll back some of the FDA regulations that have been implemented on vaping, and I just wanted to sort of see where that bill was at.
Okay. It hasn't been reintroduced yet. We're watching that. Representative, I believe Tom Cole has that to restore the common sense, this regulation issue and that. He's not reintroduced it yet. It's the FDA Deeming Authority Clarification Act. This Congress, when he does, I will be on that and going again to do this at every time.
All right. Well, that's really all I wanted to know.
Yep. Well, I do appreciate it. You have a good one, Stephen, okay?
You too, Congressman.
Thanks. All right. Like I said, I'm trying to take as many phone calls as we can tonight. Wally in Clarksville, do you have a question for me?
I do. Thank you for taking my question. First, I'd just like to express my thanks to everybody who's hanging on listening to this, even those I disagree with, which is most of the people on here, but that's okay. The second thing is, two people have called you with very sincere concerns about losing the Affordable Care Act, and you basically said, well, they're going to keep all the planks in Affordable Care Act that are popular, and they don't need to worry their pretty little heads about it. But I want to know, what's the cost going to be? That's the first thing. And then the second thing is,
what's going to be there, Wally?
What is the cost? I mean, is this care going to actually be accessible to these people that need it? So that's the first question I have.
Okay.
And then the second question is really a comment, not a question, and that's just that I am really concerned about President Trump and what he's doing to our nation and what he's doing to the civility of our nation and the security. And I'm really, really scared for us. So I just wanted you to know that.
Well, I appreciate that. That's why we have these calls, Wally. That's why, I'm one of the ones that actually take calls, and I've been, a purveyor of, opinions that some people agree with, some people don't, and that's why I take these questions head on. And, look, I don't think I've ever used pretty little head, but I think the one thing is the folks that we are putting together what we promised. This is not something new. For years in this process, I have run on the fact that I believe that the Obamacare, the ACA legislation was bad for America. If folks are concerned about what the new promise is when we've said that people will have access to affordable care, I can go back and have probably the phone lines fill up with folks who either had their insurances dropped, who've had their high costs go up, who've basically had employers not be able to hire more because of a law that was not thought out to begin with. I think when we have to look at this, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making affordable access to care. We're going to be reintroducing folks to where they have the ability to purchase insurance that is affordable and bends the cost curve. That was not something that the Affordable Care Act did at all. So I think from the concern standpoint, my concern goes back to the people of the last 3 or 4 years who've been placed into plans in which the sticker shock after they actually were able to get a plan is not something they can afford, and really it affected the vast majority of the market in which get their insurance through either their employer or through Medicare or Medicaid into a situation in which their care was either more expensive or less than what they actually had. So I'm not telling anybody to just trust. I'm saying watch and see what we do, and we actually make it affordable where people can actually go out and have a choice anymore. The ACA has created a situation in which in 1/3 of the country has only one health insurance choice. That's not choice. Five states as a whole have only one choice for a health insurance provider. So I think those are the concerns
can you
that I
stop
have.
right there for just a minute?
Well, I got to finish the second part of your question. That's my time. First part of your question. Second part of your question is look, if you have concerns about Donald Trump, I'm probably sure you probably didn't vote for him, and I understand that. There's a lot of folks who did and a lot of folks who didn't. In our district, 80% of people did. Because I think there's a concern that our country was moving away from to a centralized government solution for everything, and I think people were just tired of that, and especially in the 9th District of Georgia. So I understand your concern. That's why we have these phone calls, and that's why I love being a part of it, and I appreciate you so much for staying on. So now I'll turn it back to you for just a minute.
Okay, just a couple of comments. First of all, remember, a majority of the people in the entire nation voted against President Trump.
Well,
That's
okay, but let me stop. Let me stop right there.
Wait a minute.
No. Okay, that's fine.
You told me to
That's fine.
stop
I'll let you
interrupting
go.
you, so you stop interrupting me.
Well, it is my call.
You
So
said,
I appreciate
for
your help on
example,
that. I'm just trying to answer your questions.
You said, for example, in 5 states there's only one insurer. Well, my understanding is that the states regulate the insurers, not the federal government. So it's not the federal government who created that problem.
Okay, you want to answer that question now? The states
Sure.
do regulate it, but the insurance could talk to the insurance companies like Humana and others who are dropping out of the ACA every day. One did just yesterday. The reason they're doing so is the Affordable Health Care Act that they is no longer a solvent, workable plan and has not been for years. So I mean, I think this is the problem that you're dealing with. It is regulated by the states, but the ACA is the thing that is in a death spiral that's keeping them from that. It's the insurance companies who are pulling out.
Okay, but these five states that only have one insurance company, they had only one insurance company before the ACA went into effect.
And they had more choices than that before the ACA went into effect. And I think while this is the concern that we have, is we look forward to this is a good time, that you can express that concern, and that's why we're listening. That's actually why we've not just rolled out a plan and said, okay, everybody here, take this plan. We've actually listened, which was a far cry from what was happened, 6 years ago. So
I disagree with that.
As we look at it, like I said, as we look at it, it's just going, downhill in this, even further, where, we just have less and less opportunity and less choice. That's what we're trying to put into this factor. And we can disagree, and that's why we have these calls. But I appreciate you so much for calling, and I hope that I get to see you again. And next time we're on a call, I hope that you are able to call in again, okay?
Right.
All right, take care. All right, we're coming to the close here. We always do these for about an hour, and then we try to do as much as we go forward. What I want to do here is I'm looking at a lot of questions, and what I always try to do toward the end of our time together is answer as many questions as we possibly can. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to answer as many questions as we possibly can as we go forward in what we just call a round robin kind of real fast section. I've got what your questions are, and I will answer them. I'll call it out. If you have any questions further, please call our office, 770-297-3388, or you can leave a message tonight with us with your questions. We have these, and we will get answers back to you as we go forward. One of the things with Robin in Toccoa, the affordable seizure medicine without the ACA, we're going to provide you insurance that where you can afford your ACA medicine. In fact, hopefully what we're going to do is actually bring the cost down as we go forward in that. Robin from Gainesville, will there be any changes to standards given to teachers by the Department of Education? I think the biggest thing is we've got to change the way we encourage teachers to go into the profession. My wife's taught for 27 years. My hope is that there'll be less federal involvement in that, more state and local involvement in that. I think there, as we go forward, is also, negativity about ACA coming from. It's worked well for you, Marcia and Monroe. I'm glad it's worked well for you. It's not worked well for a lot of other folks as we go forward. I think that's why we're trying to implement changes so that everyone will have access to affordable care. Lisa in Jasper, Georgia, medical needs and special needs children, they're not going to be set aside. They're not going to be not covered pre-existing conditions. I have a special needs child, so I'm acutely aware of that condition. We're not going to let it be something that is swept under the rug. So Lisa and Jasper, I appreciate your call. I support, this is from Rick in Gilsville, I support moving the embassy to Jerusalem. Are you in favor of preserving Medicare and Social Security? Yes, Roberta, I'm in favor of actually strengthening it for generations future to come and not just letting it go bankrupt with the current generation. Fred in Elbert County, when is the president going to place his assets in blind trust? He's already made arrangements to turn his businesses over. I think that's been settled with the folks, and that's the way he's chose to do it. Lucy and Big Canoe, fans who fight media spreading false information, I think just quit listening to the ones that do. Bob and Ella J about plans for Congress to adhere to the 10th Amendment to restore states. We actually have federalism as being one of our biggest discussions, Bob Wagner and Ella J, of getting stuff back to the states. An example of that was the Alaska issue, putting that back into control where they control their own wildlife. We passed that CRA today. Tom in South Hall County, it's going to be repealed. Obamacare is going to be repealed. There'll be certain elements that were actually stuff beforehand that will still be kept, but Obamacare is going away. Mikhail from Gainesville, when is the VA going to catch up on Vietnam vet work and other war veterans? We're working on it. If you've got a question, please call our Gainesville office if you have a concern. Mark in Athens, trust the president, tells Line Public. I think what we need to do is continue to work with him, get his cabinet affirmed. If we can get the Senate to actually stop their obstructionism over there, that'll help get our other stuff going and move forward as we go. Claude in Franklin Springs, we're not going to be privatizing Medicare. We're going to be actually looking at ways that we can strengthen Medicare and do so in ways that for the current folks who are on Medicare, they're not going to have to worry about this. Catherine in Winterville, Georgia, what's my goals for this session? My goals for this session is actually to pass tax reform, reform our health care system, and begin to remove the regulatory burdens that we have. Howell in Gainesville, combat future trouble with the Trump administration. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, but Congress is going to be Congress. I'm a big believer in the fact that Congress has to be the Congress no matter who is in the White House. Also, we've got Daniel and Suches. We'd like to find out if there's anything we can do about the lying media. Again, I think you just need to see it and move forward. Jonathan Mixon in Oakwood, does Congress have a role in playing the travel ban? Well, I think we've already spoken on that. In fact, we passed a law, we passed a bill out of the House with Democrat support a couple of years ago that actually did exist to this, is to slow down that so we could actually, the FBI and others could catch up on the vetting as far as this travel ban goes. I know it's held up in the court. I'm assuming the president probably will getting maybe redoing that executive order. We'll see what happens there. Michelle in Brazelton, are you aware of citizens getting health care? They don't need non-citizens should not be on that regard, and especially even under the Obamacare, they were not supposed to get health care. Education, I agree. We're already from the federal level have done away with Common Core. You need to work on that with the local and state. James Wiley in Claremont, yes, I will vote to repeal ACA. I've done that almost 60 times in my time in Congress. As we go through here, just a few more. What is done, we're working on the military. Jimmy Thompson in Gainesville, that's a big question. We're going to see some stats come up in the next with the work on the defense spending bill. We're going to do that. There's no, at this point, Shreve, Faircloth in Rayburn Gap, any new trade deals coming up, particularly replacing TPP? Nope. I don't know of any right now, and the president has said that he's going to probably do that unilaterally, so we'll see how that goes as we look at. The other questions here, California auto emissions, I'm not sure, John, what that one is. If you have a question, please call us to there. I am not concerned. I know Pamela in Blairsville and several of you have worried about protesters and others at other meetings. As you can see, I take calls from everyone and will continue to take calls from everyone. I believe everybody has a First Amendment right to express their views, whether we agree with any degree. Wally tonight was a great example. We disagree, but I think Wally's a great American. I'm glad he was on the call. We're going to continue to do so as we go forward. I think as we move forward, a lot of these questions are very similar as we go forward. VA questions, if you have any VA, please let me know that. Call 770-297-3388. I appreciate Marilyn. I appreciate it. I appreciate you don't agree with Donald Trump, but you agree with me. Thanks for calling in. We appreciate that. I thank you for doing that. Nancy, we see your steadfasthealthcare.com. I'll be happy to have our folks look at it. I'll try and see that myself. And will I continue to support Trump moving forward when Ted from Cleveland, when Trump is doing things that are conservative and for the best interest of the country, he's going to have the best supporter he's had in the world, and I believe he's going to continue to do that. And Pauline in Carnesville, how can homeschoolers be properly tested? That's something for the state level. I'm all for all efforts to teach kids, whether it be in public school, private school, or homeschool. I believe they're all part of making sure our little boys and little girls are properly educated so that they can go out into the world and make a giant difference. Folks, as we come to the end of this call tonight, I just want to say thank you. It's a privilege to serve the 9th District of Georgia. We may have differences, but we'll never have arguments, because at the end of the day, we're going to disagree civilly. We're going to talk about our issues. We're going to talk about where we agree with each other, and we're going to share the differences where we may not. Please continue to be active with our office, and also being active when we're out and about seeing folks, and also when our town halls come again, and we'll be coming again to you very soon. Again, thank you so much. We appreciate everybody for being on the call tonight. God bless you. Till next time.